What is up, guys, and welcome to the video. In today's video we're going to be answering the $1,000,000 question, and that is, how is Arcane doing in Legion? Is it better than it was in WoD? You know, what do I think? Is it going to be viable? To this, you know, I've thought about this, like, is it better than it was in WoD? Like, yeah, I think it obviously will be, simply because of the toolkit we get. Like, we have our artifact weapons and the traits that come along with it, along with the PvP talents, and that alone is going to, you know, set it way ahead. If you're to face an Arcane Mage in WoD to an Arcane Mage in Legion, it's just going to be leagues ahead. That's just how it is. Is it going to be viable? Yes, for sure. But I feel like I want you guys to get deterred if you don't see a lot of Arcane Mages out there. Like, I've thought about this for a while, and the main reason I think that you won't see a whole lot of Arcane is simply because Fire is going to be hugely the competitive spec. You might see a few Frost Mages out there once in a while. I'm not sure how it's doing now on live, but Fire is always going to be the go-to for competitive play in Legion here. And for that reason alone, a lot of people are just going to play it. Like, it's just how it is. You want to play a spec that's good, you go Fire. It's not like you have to reroll a class for it, you're just rerolling a spec. And that's just how it is, but it doesn't mean that Arcane is bad in the least. Like, that couldn't be further from the truth. So, I mean, right now, Arcane is still going to have the same weakness, the major flaw, and that's always being kicked in Arcane. We don't have a lot of spammable damage abilities. Like, we have Prince of Mind and Arcane Explosion. That's pretty much it. So, I mean, jukes will still be a pretty heavy part of Arcane, you know, getting those kicks out of the way, or at least being able to CC the DPS while you need to cast. It's just going to be a major flaw. We're going to have to live with it. When we're getting locked, we can't do damage. We can't do anything other than Ice Block or Ice Barrier or anything like that. And we're kind of sitting ducks, but that's always going to be part of Arcane that really can't change from expansion to expansion unless they really add some new spells in that are pretty good defensives outside of the Arcane spell class. But as far as everything else goes, we still have our damage, we have high mobility, and we're just going to be able to really pump out the damage when we need to. But the only downside I want to point out right now with Arcane is the mana. The new mastery is, you know, handy in situations, but our mana regen heavily got hit. Like, we're not going to be able to recover that much from it, and I mean, evocation, you're going to have to really watch when you can evocate if you're getting low on mana. Like, it's one of those things where if you go down to like 20% mana or something like that and evocate and you get kicked after only one tick, you pretty much got to last that minute and a half on 40% mana until you can get evocate back. So you're going to be a sitting duck until you're waiting for your arcane power or your artifact weapon ability come back up, and that's a really downside to Arcane right now. As far as everything else goes, though, we'll be doing just fine. I mean, we got Quickening. I think that's going to be a really fun talent to try out in 3v3, so that's going to bring a lot of utility to the table for us. But other than that, you know, we got Shimmer. I think I went over that and stuff like that. Ice Barrier being baseline is actually really nice now. I mean, it can be purged in arenas, obviously, but you know, it's one of those things where I guess it'll help more so in world PvPs, just stuff like that, solo content, BGs. It's just more of a reliable thing to do instead of spamming spell steal. I mean, you get a decent chunk of health covered for it with only one global, and you can spend the rest of the time trying to get out some damage or Fisher missile procs or whatever. The big thing, though, I wanted to cover for Arcane here in Legion, it's going to be one of those things where Arcane is definitely more fast-paced now, and it's going to kind of set people that are really good at it and not so good at it. Like, it's going to create a bigger gap between those players. Arcane can be played really well, or I don't want to say really well, but it can be played good if you're good at it. It's going to be a struggle, though, if you're just learning it, just picking it up. It's definitely going to be a bit of a grind, but I definitely think it'll progress you better as a player. Like, if you can learn to play Arcane pretty well, then you can transfer that over to if you want to re-roll someday to another class. But yeah, Arcane can be really fast-paced at times. It really makes you think, you know, set up your burst, definitely in arenas or stuff like that. Like, you gotta think ahead, you know, when you can burst. You don't want to burst into walls. How can you get players to burn through those defenses before you use your cooldowns? and it's just, you know, it's a big thought process, but you know, once you get good at it, stuff almost comes, you know, it's second nature for you. It's just a matter of time, I guess. So Arcane Legion definitely has its potential. It's not going to be easy by any means, but once you get good at it, I think it'll be really rewarding, as long as you can stick it through. So that'll be it for me, guys, and until next time, this is Spart out.
Starry eyes, I'll follow where you go. All I know is you're not showing who you truly are. My arms open, I've been hoping you'll unlock your heart. You got some secrets you don't need to tell. You got some pain, yeah, I got some myself. If nothing else, we could share a broken